Hey everybody, and welcome to the UFC 246 Aftermath, and Conor McGregor taking care of business quickly. TKO, I think the official time was 40 seconds on it, and man, doing it against, don't get me wrong, I think Conor had an advantage on the feet going into this fight, but Cowboy is a world-class MMA fighter, very good Muay Thai, good in the clinch, and you saw so the fight starts off, right? Conor comes in, he throws a big left hand and misses with it, and Cowboy ducks under it. And I thought Cowboy was actually going to run a double leg there. And I don't know if he just didn't commit to it or didn't feel like it was there. But they wind up in the clinch, and Conor kind of drops his base down a little bit and starts landing these shoulders. And you've seen people kind of like use and implement that technique before. Like I can remember, I think John Jones did it against Anthony Smith, right? But I've never seen it done so effectively. And just the amount of leverage and the amount of pop that he was getting on him. And you could tell that they were significant in the moment. And then when they broke apart, you could see that Cerrone's face was, lit up, puffed up, right? I think like it looked like he had broken his nose already. And Conor moves forward. I think Cowboy threw a head kick, if I'm remembering correctly, but Conor blocked it. Conor returns fire with a head kick of his own and then just swarms Cowboy and gets the finish. So it didn't take long at all. And the fact that this fight took place at 170 pounds opens up a lot of doors for Conor, right? Okay, so you got like people are talking like Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, right? And I don't think Conor's going to end up fighting Kamaru Usman. I think that if anybody at that weight class deserves the title shot, it's going to be Jorge Masvidal, right? So I don't think that Conor's going to be able to leapfrog Jorge in order to fight Usman, but I do think that a fight with Jorge Masvidal is possible. But I'll tell you what makes me nervous about Conor fighting some of those elite guys at 170 is that Cowboy is a legitimate. I think that when you look at Cowboy, like his ideal weight class is 155, and you saw tonight that Cowboy is bigger than Conor, right? Like Conor looked good, Conor looked healthy. Don't get me wrong, but I still think that like 155 suits Conor a little bit better. I think there's something to like cutting a healthy amount of weight where you're carrying a little bit less around on fight night, and I think maybe there's some advantages cardio wise. Maybe I don't know. There's give and take to it, right? But I think that a lot of the guys who are settled into that 170-pound weight class are going to be significantly bigger than Conor, Jorge, and especially Kamaru Usman, right? Not that he can't go in there. Conor's striking is spectacular, man, and he looked great tonight. But I think that what's going to happen is I think Conor wants that Khabib rematch. I think Conor's a pretty prideful guy, and I think that he's going to want to. I think he's going to want the winner of Tony Ferguson and Khabib, right? And that fight's only a few months away. Conor could also have a quick turnaround, though. Like, if he does want the Jorge Masvidal fight, I don't think a single shot was landed on Conor McGregor tonight. Like I said, I think Cowboy threw a head kick, but I don't even think it connected. I think all the damage was done by Conor. So he went in there, got a quick win, got out. He's healthy, and he's ready to move on to the next, whatever the next event's going to be, right? But I think he's going to want to get that one against Khabib back. So I don't know, man. There's so many options for him. It could go so many different ways. But I think that what's going to happen is that Usman is probably going to end up fighting Jorge Masvidal for the welterweight title, especially now that Tyron Woodley and Leon Edwards have been booked. Those are your two other top contenders in that weight class, I think, and they're kind of out of the picture now because they're fighting each other March 21st in England. But I don't know, man. Jorge and Conor could happen. That fight would sell massive pay-per-views, especially with the highlight reel you could put together to push the promo. Both guys have sellable personalities. Both guys like to fight. They like to stand. That fight just makes me nervous a little bit for Conor because Jorge's a big dude, and he's a great pressure boxer, and he has great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. Not that Conor doesn't, man. But, don't get me wrong. I'd watch it 100%. But I still think that the ideal weight class for Conor is 155 pounds. So, also, in the meantime, right, if you just – another good fight to book would be Justin Gaethje and Conor McGregor. That's a fight that arguably should have happened instead of Cowboy Conor. I think a guy who is a little bit more deserving of that fight. But then again, Conor's coming off a loss, long layoff. Like the Cowboy fight, it's not like the Cowboy fight didn't make sense, but I think a lot of UFC fans were clamoring for that Justin Gaethje fight. So, after Khabib and Tony fight, that's probably going to be a hard fight on both guys no matter who wins, I would imagine, right? They're probably going to need a significant amount of time off. So they're probably not going to be able to go again until you're talking about like maybe fall, late summer, like September, October-ish, I would imagine, after a fight like that. So it depends on how active Conor wants to be. I would say in the meantime, the thing for Conor to do would be to return to lightweight and fight Justin Gaethje. And then the winner of that gets a title shot against the winner of Khabib and Tony, right? Because, I mean, goddamn, with how fast Conor just finished this, you could throw Conor and, well, the problem is going to be that, like, I don't think Conor's ever going to fight in a co-main spot, especially on the same card as Khabib and Tony. So they won't fight on the same card, but they could fight in the same time frame, man. I mean, Conor's healthy. He's ready to go. He didn't take any damage. So a lot of different avenues he could take. And as far as Cowboy, I still like Cowboy better at 155, man. I think Cowboy is maybe, you can't say more well-suited for 170 than Conor because Conor just beat him at 170, right? But I still think that like the ideal weight class for both of these guys is 155. Anyway, I don't know who Cowboy is going to end up fighting next. It's a tough one, man. He's lost. Is he on a 3-fight skid right now? Ferguson, Gaethje, Conor? And all TKOs, and I mean, Gaethje was a knockout, right? So it's hard to tell, man. And just, I mean, way too early prediction. Should Conor and Justin fight? I like Conor in that fight, man. I think his striking is so clean. I just think that, like, Conor, people forget, man, just because he got mauled by Khabib, that happens to everybody. That happens to everybody that fights him, man. Conor is still very elite. His striking is still leagues above most of the people in that division, and I think people kind of forget that because he hasn't been around for a while, but you saw that he's obviously been training. He's obviously been working on some new things, and he looked brilliant, man. I mean, say what you want about maybe Cowboy wasn't the right fight. Maybe it should have been Gaethje, but it doesn't change the fact that Conor looked brilliant, and he got the job done quickly. I'm looking for him to be hunting the 155-pound belt. I just think there's a lot going on at 170, and I think there's some beef stirring between Jorge and Usman, and I know Jorge wants that fight, but it's going to It's going to depend on Conor, man, and what he wants. The UFC kind of revolves around him and decision-making shit, right? All right, anyway, let's work our way down the card now that we've finished talking about that. As far as Cowboy, I don't know who he's going to fight next, man. He could be in one of those situations where he gets thrown to like a dangerous up-and-comer like he kind of did against Alexander Hernandez, right? Or like he kind of did against Mike Perry. It just depends. And he's the kind of guy who, like, whatever fight they offer him, he's going to say yes to. So positive on this is that he's probably going to get a pretty significant payday for only having to fight for 30 seconds. But, I mean, at the same time, like, it's easy to say that, but he's a fighter, man. He's already got money. He wanted to go in there and win the fight, so you got to feel for him. I felt really bad for Cowboy after that because you know he probably, like, put everything he had into training. And for the fight to end that quickly, man, it's got to be devastating for him and his team. And I'm a big Cowboy fan, so I mean that's rough. And I hoping for a quick recovery for him, and hopefully get a quick turnaround and get back in the saddle. Maybe some time off would be good too. I mean, just kind of sit down, reevaluate things, like, But I'm hoping that in his next venture to the octagon, he's successful and can get a win. Get back on track.